We're up to Oischov Gimel over here. So the Rebbe is summing up now the Maimer that we learned. So basically, we learned in Avodas Hashem, what does it mean to return B'Sholem El Beis Avi? We learned that, to make peace between the opposition to Hashem, and that's the kavanah of the neshama coming down into this world, especially for Chod Rachecha De'eyu, Chol Masecha L'Shem Shamayim. And we make of all these avonim, heaven, and we talk about the Shemarish, we make it all into a Beis Elikim. So returning B'Sholem here in a figurative sense means to return the neshama to its proper height and proper place, gets even a higher level. It gets from the level of Keser, Atzmus, all the different madregas that the Rebbe discussed it. But in the Pashto Pshat, what does it mean return home? He wanted to return home. He wanted to go back to Eretz Yisrael. So while in Golus, we're saying that V'shavti B'Sholim, all of the Avodah to return to Hashem, the Neshama in peace, the Avodah, but literally we want to return Al Beis Avi, we want to return to Eretz Yisrael. It's the preparation for the Geula Hasidah. And the Rebbe says that this is taka the connection because through the Avodah of B'Shavti B'Sholim, that's the way we merit to come to the Geula Hasidah. Let's look inside Oischov Gimel. Bezui Gamkin Hashaychus, this is also the connection. The inyan B'Shavti B'Sholim El Beis Avi K'meishu Ba'avodas Ha'odom B'Yosei B'Choron Bizman HaGolus, that you have the idea of B'Shavti B'Sholim El Beis Ha'avi while he's going to Choron. We're right now the Avodah when we're in Golus. Avodas Ha'odom when he is in Choron in Zman HaGolus. So it's a different level of B'Shavti B'Sholim. We're not talking about going out of Golus. We're talking about within Golus reaching the level of B'Shavti B'Sholim. But it's connected to the literal meaning of B'Shavti B'Sholim. L'inyan B'Shavti El Sholim El Beis Avi K'moshu B'Pashtus, as it literally means to return to my father, meaning returning to Eretz Yisrael. Shekoyi Al HaShova V'Hachazoreh, that refers to in the Pashto Pshat on returning and coming back, Mechoron LeBeis Aviv, from Choron to Beis Aviv. Not a return of the neshama, not Avodas Hashem. We're talking about literally. Shatiyah Bagula La'asud Love. That's going to be in the redemption in the future. And even when we touch the words return to Beis Avi, we said before to Yitzchak. Yitzchak is future. Yitzchak will laugh because that means it's not yet presently here. The real laughter, the real enjoyment, the real accomplishment will be when Mashiach comes, when it will be the real tzchok. Ukemuvon gam izeh sheYitzchak avi hu loshen osid. That the Yitzchak, it says Yitzchak shavti b'sholem el beis avi. Who's the beis avi? That's Yitzchak. Who's the avi? Hu loshen osid. Yitzchak will laugh. Because the real laughter and delight will be in the future to come. Kamesha Kosov, the Pasuk says, Oz davke yimolis chekpinu, Oz yimolis chekpinu. Then our mouth will be full with laughter. Oz la'osid lovi. Oz davke. The Zehu Gamkin. In the future, as the Gemara brings down from the Pasuk, that the Yidden will say, Avram lo yodainu, and Yaakov not, but Yitzchok Ka'ato Avinu. Because Yitzchok is the level of Tainug. And the real level of Tainug is in the Geula La'osid Lovei. So what's the connection between our work now in Iskafia and Ishapcha and the idea of returning Bisholem to Gula Hasidas? Is a connection there because this is the Avodah that leads us to the Gula Hasidah. Ki al yidei ha'avodah de v'shavti b'sholem. Through the Avodah of v'shavti b'sholem, which is Iskafia v'ishapcha chashechel enayra, turning around darkness to light. That's called b'sholem. Why? Because sholem means you make peace from the opposition, and not with the menagdim. Inyan hasholem shegam hamanagid nepach l'kedusha. The idea of sholem, shavti b'sholem. B'sholem means that the opponent turns to kedusha. That's the idea of sholem. V'loy rak begufe v'nafshe b'hamis, as we spoke, not before just your own guf and nefesh b'hamis. You make peace. You turn them around. But you also work with the world, with your portion that you have in the world to be mevader. Through this will be the gidlosi. So that's the connection. The sholem, the iskafia, v'ishapcha brings us to the shafti b'sholem literally. Inyan hasholem. At that time, losi will be the true level of sholem. Lo yareyu v'lo yashchisu. Talks about all the wild animals. They won't do bad and they won't destroy. The world will be full of knowledge of Hashem, just like water covers the entire ocean. The world will be covered with knowledge of Hashem, and there will be no le'erev le'yashchisu. That's the real shalom. That normally those who cause damage and mashchisim will not anymore. That'll make peace. That will be the ultimate shalom. So while we're saying that the real shalom comes la'asid lavei, but since we're working on it now through our avodah of iskafia v'ishapcha, we have to say that there is still now also a certain degree of level of tainug and tzchoik, even nowadays. Chavdalet v'hine agam sheyitzchak uloshon osid. Even Yitzchak is Yitzchak will in the future. Lifishat tzchoik v'tainug shalamaylo yiyeh la'osid labe, because the laughter and the delight of above will be in the future. Kenal, as we said before in Sivchav Gimel. Mikol makayim mizeh shenikra achshav b'shem Yitzchak. We call it Beis Avi. We call him Yitzchak now. So we're not saying only in the future. Move on. Shagam achshav yesh tainug v'tzchoik zeh. There is a delight and this laughter. The Eibishter is enjoying our avodah, our iskafia and ishapcha presently, not only in the future. Komesha Kosuv, as the pasuk says, tzchoik osali alikim. When she named him, when Avram named him, when Sarah named him Yitzchak, says tzchoik osali alikim. Also kvar, he's already done, which means it's also in the past. It's not just the future. That laughter and the delight comes about from the work that we are subduing and turning around now. So we have to say it's not just the future that will be the delight, but the delight is right now. So what happens now and what's in the future? The delight is now, but the gilui of that delight, the revelation of that delight will be in the future. Berak, shegilui hatainu yiyeh la'os love. The revelation of this delight of Hashem, of what's taking place from the Dvar Chidush, that we're turning around the world and being mevarer, this will be revealed la'os love in the future to come. Kishayushulamu call habirurim, when all the birurim have been completed, that's when la'osid love will take place and it will be revealed. V'chein hu gam b'negei lazeh, also the other aspect that we're saying that Yitzchak functions in the future, but he's also in the present, is also in the other aspect of Yitzchak. The Gemara says that why, the Gemara in Shabbos over there, quoted before, why do we call Yitzchak Ato Avinu? So the Gemara says Because when the Eibishter asked Abraham and Yaakov what to do about the Yidden when they did sins to everybody, Yitzchak defended them. Yitzchak saved them. And that's what we say after Yitzchak Avinu. So the defense that Yitzchak stood up for the Yidden is not only in the future, but it's also presently. Just like with the Tainug we're saying is presently, v'chein hu gam b'negei lezeh, also to the aspect shel osid lova yomru leYitzchak Yato Avinu. Why are we going to say to Yitzchak Yato Avinu? Mitzad zeh sheyatzil es Yisrael mahagolus, because he's going to save the Yidden from the exile, as brought out from the Gemara over there. Shem ein inyan zeh yesh gam achshav. It has it now too. We also have. We don't have to wait for the future. Yitzchak saves us now from the golus as well. Shagam bisman hagolus, also in the time of exile. Umegin al Yisrael, he protects the Yidden. Shagonazu tia, this protection that he does now, then he will save us from the whole exile. But he's still working now. It's not just the future, it's also presently. We talked about Tainuk, we talked about the Hatzola in the brackets, and the Rebbe says also the level of peace. Even though we said that level of peace is going to come really in the future, he said the end of Eischav Gimel, but we also could have the level of peace right now. Similar is also the matter of Shalom. Even though the ultimate truth, idea of peace, in such a way that it's expressed, they won't do any bad, they won't corrupt, all the animals will live together. That will be in the future to come, as we said before, in the Chav Gimel. But some of it can be also in the time of Golus. Those things that hold back, those things that prevent us from doing our avodah, not only shall they not oppose us, they will support us, avodas Hashem. We can have the idea of Shalom now, the V'shafti b'Shalom, that we're ultimately going to experience in its fullest level in La'osid Lovi, we can have a little bit now. So, Ba'al Pizeh, move on. Based on this, we can understand, in addition to what we said before, in Eischav Gimel, we said that the connection that through Iskafia, B'Yishapcha, we get to the level of V'shafti b'Sholem, also to the level of Sholem we get. Noisef labir hashaychus dinim v'shafti b'Sholem el beis ovi. The avoda returning who bisman hagolus, the time of golus li'inyam v'shafti b'Sholem beis ovi shi begula sida, to the idea of returning b'Sholem the way it's going to be in the future redemption. So the Rebbe spoke about that through the avoda of v'shafti b'Sholem iskafye v'ishapcha we reach the gula sida. So there's an additional point because we also have the Shalom right now. Kigam bisman hagolus. Because also in the time of exile, there are things that hold back and prevent. And we need to ask Hashem. It's not so obvious. It's not taken for granted. Because we're dealing with Moinim Ma'akvim. Sholem Ushlila Shvichas Damim. You're asking, returning, because you want peace, you want negation, you don't want to pour blood. You want it to be B'Sholem. Hinegam Oz. So even now, Al Yidei HaToikev de Mesiras Nefesh Betzad B'Chinas Yichida, because through the force, steadfastness of Mesiras Nefesh that comes from the level of Yichida, Mizbatlin Kol Amenu Ve'akvim. So we experience Shalom right now. All those that prevent, that hold back, we can experience it now. And that's the connection also, because Shalom that will be in the future can be now too. Not only do we have them not interfere, but Elohim Gufim Mesayim B'Avodas Hashem, they support and they help in Avodas Hashem. Bedugma u'me'ein hasholem she'yeh lo'asid love, similar and somewhat of that peace that is going to be in the future to come. So that's the connection, even also in the idea of shalom. The Rebbe is going to go away now to explain also in the Poda B'Shalom for Yutas Kislev that we learn that we find two interpretations in the Poda B'Shalom. One interpretation is B'Shalom is going to be, there's a menagid, but we're going to have to win the menagid. There's going to be opposition. But as the Rebbe said before, Mikrovli was a fight. And we know that David HaMelech couldn't build the Beis HaMikdash because he was war. The Eibishter had Shlomo HaMelech build the Beis HaMikdash. But on the other hand, some Maimorim explains that Poda B'Shalom is Me'ein the loss of love. We have these two things because Bisman Hazeh, we have to prepare for the ultimate. Let's see. Based on this, that we have, even Bisman Hagolus, when we have the Tekiv of Mesiras Nefesh, we can also experience the level of Shalom, which will be Losid Lavai. This will also straighten out, this can reconcile the Beis HaPirushim, the two interpretation, how we interpreted the Poda B'Shalom Nashi Mikrovli, he redeemed with peace my soul. Mikrovli means from my war. Goimer. The simple meaning is that there was war and they had to redeem, so there was opposition there. But in some of the Maimorim it says that it'll be B'Shalom without war. How do we reconcile it? So the Rebbe says like this: the two Pirushim, the Pirush HaPoshut Hu, what is the simple meaning? Shepodo v'hoitzi oisei mikrav milchama. Mikrovli, from he redeemed him, took him out of the war from the milchama. Hainu. That would mean sheyesh mitzias the l'umazeh. There is such an entity of the other side. Shetzarich lilcham kenegda. You got to wage war against him. The zuhi hashaychus. That's the connection. David HaMelech said this Perek Tehillim, so that's the connection. The Poda B'Shalom Nafshi LeDavid. That's the connection that he redeemed my peace and soul to David. David did not earn his peace on his own. He had to fight for it. Shebepashtus koizal b'diyas David. Pashtus in the pasuk Poda B'Shalom, who is redeemed? It goes on David. That's the Pashtus pshat that David redeemed. He had opponents. He beat them. So talking about David HaMelech, the difference between the birurim, the sorting out that David had to do, and the sorting out of Shlomo. Shabirurim the David hayu b'derech milchama. The sorting out of David was in the way of war. Birurim the Shlomo sorted out things hayu b'derech menucha, was in the way of relaxation. The pasuk says that David HaMelech will not build the Beis HaMikdash because the pasuk says dam l'roiv shafachto. You spilled many bloods. Umelchamas gedolos sosiso, and you have waged many wars. Great wars you have done. Lo yisivna bayis lishmi gomer. You will not build the house for my name. Hine ben noilad l'chahu. Benad l'cha. You will have a son. Hu yiyeh ish menucha. He will be a man of rest. Gomer. Hu yivna bayis lishmi. He's going to be the house, to build the house for my name. So what does that mean? That David Take ended up being victorious, but it came with a heavy price. He had to fight and beat, pour blood, wage wars. That was the birurim of David. So that means the Hagam, although Shagam and Nitzachim the David, the fact that David's victory came about, Nitzach as Kol HaMenagdim, that he was able to be victorious over all the opponents, Hoya Nitzochen Betachlis, was a complete victory. It was a complete. So he did win fully. And because of that, that's why there was a thought, maybe he should build the Beis Hamikdash because he already was victorious. But because if he wasn't victorious, then it wouldn't even be a thought for him. But the Eibishter said no. Still, since his birurim were in a way of war, the building of the Beis Hamikdash was davke through Shlomo. Move on. Okay. So what does therefore mean podu b'sholem nafshi? When we're talking about David and Pashtus, it means there's enemies, there's an opponent, there's a war, and we won it. We win it fully. Shemizeh move on. Indian podu b'sholem Nishalemar Gabe David, idea of podu b'sholem, which was said by David, Hushiyesh mitzias the lumazah menagit. There is an entity of lumazah which is an opponent. But you were victorious. You victorious. Essentially, this is what also happened with the Alter Rebbe. It's not that the Alter Rebbe earned peace on his own. He had to go through the Meiser. And even after, the Rebbe says, even after he was freed, you needed permission from the government. We're still not a shalom like without opponents. Same thing was the Bird Shalom Nafshi that was by the redemption of Kislev. And also Vahagula, the Yud Kislev, and the Gula of the 10 of Kislev, the Mittler Rebbe. Shahoya Mitzias, the Luma Zahamenagit. There was a entity of the other side that opposed. But we were victorious, we beat them. But not only was there opposition and we beat them, even after we beat them, we still have to come on to them. Shagam, to the extent, Shagam la'achre ha'geula, even after the redemption, hutzruchu l'rishoyen ma'amalchus de medina hahi. You needed permission from the government of that country. So, while it was that specific country, but all the countries are known as Mitzrayim because they all squeeze a yid. Every building. Aval kol malchies, all the governments nikru al shem Mitzrayim are called on the name of Mitzrayim. They're all al shem shem Mitzirus li Yisrael because they all make the yid squeeze the yid and they make them uncomfortable. So you needed a special permission al afotzas Teres HaChasidus on the spreading of Teres HaChasidus. So we have one shot of podu b'sholem means that you have to wage war, but you go out victorious. But then we have the second shot, b'sholem means there's no war. You will go l'chatchila b'sholem. Pirush habezu kibavuer b'divra maschil podu b'sholem nafshi. The Baal HaGeula, the Maimer podu b'sholem nafshi of the Baal HaGeula, become a drushim dira maschil zed yud kislev in many memorim. In the memorim that starts of Yud Kislev that start with podu b'sholem, shapediyah is b'derech sholem. So over there he talks about the redemption is in a peaceful way. V'ad she'in tzorich le'muchama klal, to the extent you don't even need war. So what's the pshat podu b'sholem in a sholem way? Just like it was in the day of Shlomo. Shakol amen goyim nizbatlu lefonov. Shalo yalidei milchama klal. All the nation became bottled, nullified before him without war. So, on one hand, we're learning in Maimorim, Pashta Pshat, podu b'sholem, we had to fight. That's what you discussed. Then we say no, without war. How do we reconcile the Hativuch, the base Pirushim Elu? But what is the way to reconcile these interpretations? Seemingly, that's from one extreme to the other extreme. And the Rebbe goes even further. Even more than the Sholem Shlel de Muhammad, some places it says that it's the Sholem that's going to be in the future to come. At the greatest level of Sholem, Yoser Certainly based on what is explained in many places. When we say that's the redemption in total peace, the way it's going to be in the future to come. That's the level of peace. It's not even peace without war, but it's a peace in the ultimate peace that's going to be in the future to come. At that time, Hashem will turn to all the nations a clear language. Love the Shechemech, everybody work with one shoulder. And that level of Sholem, that's even a higher level of Sholem Meshloima. So here we're saying this is the Pod of Sholem. This is totally out of the park. I mean, this is like a whole extreme level of Sholem that we're interpreting in the Pod of Sholem. It's going to be even higher than the Sholem of Shloimeh. Shloimeh's Sholem was a preparation for the Sholem of La'aseh Lavei. And here we're saying Pod of Sholem, it's going to be like this, B'Sholem the Pasik. Elosha Sholem, Shebimei Shloimeh, Hayash Achona La Sholem de La'asid. The Sholem of the days of Shloimeh was a preparation to the Shalom of the future. Shalachein Mashiach Be'yem Beis David Mezerah Shloimeh Bilvad. He's going to be only from David and only Shloimeh, not from anybody else. Why? Because Shloimeh is the preparer for Mashiach. And Shloimeh's Shalom that he had, because Mashiach comes from Shloimeh specifically. So he prepares for Mashiach. And this meaning of Shalom is the highest level. This elevation and the wholesomeness of the future, it's even higher than the extremes. It's even higher than that. So how are we reconciling this? One word the Rebbe says very briefly. As the Rebbe had just spoken. The liyois, the chol, hagiluyim del osid. Since all revelations of the future, they hinge on our action, our work during the time of Golus. And therefore, even in the Pod of Shalom and the Man HaGolus. Right now we're B'derech Milchama, but we have to say there is in it, when you bring the Yechida, as the Rebbe said before, you employ that level of Mesiras Nefesh, you can experience that the Menagdim are bottled, and there is no even Menagdim. Yesh me'ein inyan abdiya b'shalom sheyes love. There is somewhat of the B'diya that is going to be lost in love. I mean, after the question, you would expect a little bit of a longer answer to answer this, but the Rebbe built up the question to how could it reconcile the two interpretations. On one hand, it says that B'Sholem is Melchames and everything else, and you make coming peace. And the other one says Sholem, like by Shloimeh HaMelech and even like by Mashiach. How do we reconcile the two Perushim? Bizman Hazeh, because we're Avedas, the Rebbe explained earlier, because we're working on it, just like by the Tainug that we're working on it now, even though the Gilu HaTainug is lost, but we have to say that we have it now too. There is me'ain of the lost love right now, because it all comes through our Maseinu Avadesenu. So even though that ultimately in the full force there will be lost love, but presently we can still experience some of that peace, even without war, to get the, not only that there shouldn't be menagdim, but it should actually help us. Okay, let's leave it over here. This will be one more piece in Mr. Hashem, and then we'll, Baruch Hashem, successfully do the mimer. Okay? All right, see you soon. Thank you.